Do you remember me? That was the first message I received. I almost ignored it, thinking it was a prank, until I realized no one else could remember him. Not my parents, not my friends, not even me. And by the time I remembered the truth, it was already too late. This is The Forgotten Friend, a psychological horror story about disappearances, erased memories, and the terrifying consequences of remembering. Before we begin, what would you do if someone you don't remember started messaging you, insisting they were your childhood friend? Let me know in the comments. I first received the message on a Tuesday night, just past midnight. Do you remember me? I stared at the screen, blinking away the exhaustion from a long workday. The number was unfamiliar, no name, no contact history, just a blank slate and that simple question. Probably spam, I thought, tossing my phone aside. The next morning, I had another message. It's me. We were best friends once. I frowned. The words carried a strange weight, like something I should recognize but couldn't quite place. A prank? Maybe. Someone from high school? I almost responded but decided against it. If it was important, they'd say more. By the end of the day, another message arrived. Why did you forget? That one unsettled me. There was something off about it, not just the words, but the way they lingered in my mind. I double-checked the number, expecting a mistake, but nothing came up. I still didn't respond. The messages continued over the next few days. I know you see these. Please, just talk to me. I can prove it. Check the box under your bed. That last one made me pause. That I hadn't thought about that box in years. It was an old, beat-up shoebox full of childhood junk, drawings, ticket stubs, a couple of toys. I had brought it with me when I moved out, more out of habit than sentiment. Kneeling down, I pulled it out and lifted the lid. Inside were the things I expected: faded Polaroids, a plastic dinosaur, a wristband from a fair. I shuffled through them, heart pounding. Nothing seemed out of place. But then, near the bottom, I found something I didn't remember: a folded piece of paper. When I unfolded it, I saw a crude drawing. Two stick figures holding hands. One had my name scrawled beneath it. The other name was smeared, almost erased, but I could still make out the first letter, M. A cold unease settled over me. I had no memory of drawing this. That night, I finally replied. Who are you? The answer came almost instantly. You know who I am. I stared at my phone, waiting for another message. None came. I told myself I wouldn't reply again, but the more I thought about it, the more that drawing gnawed at me. The smudge name, the fact that I had no recollection of making it. Had I really forgotten someone that completely? The next day, I called my mom. Hey, I said, trying to sound casual. Do you remember if I had a childhood friend named M something? There was a pause. M, she repeated. You had lots of friends. Someone close. Like a best friend. No, not that I remember. Her voice was light, unconcerned, but something about the way she answered unsettled me. It wasn't just that she didn't remember. It was that she paused, like the question had briefly caught on something in her mind before sliding away. Are you sure? I pressed. No one I played with all the time? Another pause. Then a small laugh. Sweetheart, I think I'd remember. I wanted to believe her, but that night, another message arrived. They're making you forget again. I dropped my phone. My pulse hammered in my ears. What the hell did that mean? The following week, I started noticing the gaps. Old photos, ones I hadn't touched in years, had strange inconsistencies. In one, I stood in my childhood backyard, arms around two people. My cousin was on my right. On my left, there was a space, just a sliver of emptiness where someone should have been. The way my arm was positioned, I had clearly been holding on to someone. I checked another album. Same thing. Group pictures from school had a tiny, unnatural gap, like something had been cut out of reality itself. At work, I found myself distracted, staring at my phone between meetings. No new messages came, and yet I felt watched, like something was just out of reach, waiting for me to remember. And then the dream started that I saw myself as a child, running through an overgrown field behind my old house. Laughter filled the air, not just mine, but someone else's. A voice, familiar yet completely alien. "Come on," they called, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't see their face. I woke up gasping, a name on the tip of my tongue. But it was already gone. I couldn't ignore it anymore. Something was wrong. I drove back to my childhood home that weekend. My parents still lived there, the house unchanged except for the fresh coat of paint on the porch. I spent the first day pretending it was just a normal visit. I helped Dad fix a loose cabinet, sat with Mom as she watched her favorite show. But that night, when they went to sleep, I went digging. I searched through my old room, the attic, even the basement. Yearbooks, scrapbooks, boxes of old toys. I combed through everything, looking for any trace of him. Nothing. It was as if they had never existed. And yet, as I stood in the attic, surrounded by the echoes of my childhood, I felt a deep, aching absence, like I was standing in the shadow of something I should never have forgotten. Then, from my pocket, my phone buzzed out a single message. "Look under the oak tree." My stomach twisted. There was only one oak tree that could mean, the one in the field behind the house, the same one from my dream. I didn't go outside right away, even though my hands itched to move. Even though every part of me screamed that I needed to look, I hesitated, because deep down, I already knew that whatever I found under that tree wouldn't be something I could explain, that wouldn't be something I could ignore. But the next message arrived before I could change my mind. "Hurry, before they stop you." So, at 3 in the morning, I stepped outside into the cold night air. The oak tree stood at the far end of the field, its massive limbs twisted against the sky. I had played under this tree as a child, climbed it, hidden behind it during long summer afternoons. And yet, as I approached, a strange fear settled into my bones. The closer I got, the less the tree seemed like something from my memories. The shape was familiar, but something about it felt wrong. The way the branches curled inward, the way the bark seemed too smooth in some places, stretched thin like skin. I swallowed hard and forced myself to kneel at its roots. The ground was soft, like it had been disturbed recently. I dug with my hands. First, I found nothing but damp earth. My fingers grew cold, nails scraping against pebbles and tangled roots. But then, something solid. I pulled it free. It was a tin box. Rusted, dented, no bigger than a lunchbox. My breath hitched as I pried it open. Inside was a stack of old Polaroids. Hands shaking, I flipped through them. The first was of a boy. I didn't recognize him. I know. That wasn't right. I did. I almost did. My brain struggled to hold on to the memory, like grasping smoke. He was standing beside me in the photo, grinning wide, an arm slung over my shoulder. I checked the back of the picture. In faded ink, someone had scrawled a name, Michael, and just like that, I remembered him. And the moment I did, everything went wrong. The air shifted. The night around me grew too still, the silence so heavy it felt like the world was holding its breath. And then a whisper, low, distant, threading through the wind. "You weren't supposed to remember?" My stomach turned to ice. I spun, scanning the darkened field, my breath sharp in my chest. Nothing. And yet, I felt something watching me, not from the trees, not from the shadows, but from somewhere else, somewhere closer. I looked back at the Polaroids, flipping through them desperately. There were more pictures, Michael and I riding bikes, sitting on a swing set, blowing out candles on a birthday cake. He had been real. Oh, why had everyone forgotten? Why had I forgotten? I grabbed my phone, fingers fumbling as I typed. I remember now. What happened to you? No response. I swallowed hard, trying to steady my breath. My hands were shaking. I needed to go inside to show my parents these photos, to prove to them that I wasn't losing my mind. I turned and froze. There was a figure standing at the edge of the field, just a silhouette, unmoving. Too tall, too thin, and though I couldn't see its face, I knew it was looking at me. I bolted. I didn't stop running until I was back inside the house, locking the door behind me. My heart thundered as I peered out the window. Nothing. No figure. No shadow. But as I stood there, gasping for breath, my phone buzzed one last time. A single message. Run. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my bed, gripping the tin box, the Polaroids scattered across my lap. My body was still trembling from what I'd seen, the figure in the field, the way the air had shifted, the voice that wasn't really a voice at all. I had proof now. Michael had been real. He had existed. And yet, when I tried to hold on to the memories, tried to let them settle fully into my mind, something pushed back, like an invisible hand, peeling them away. I fought against it. I remembered playing tag with him in the backyard, the way he'd always let me win even though he was faster. I remembered the time we built a treehouse together, or had we? The more I tried to focus on the details, the more they blurred at the edges, unraveling like old thread. I clenched my fists. No, I won't forget again. I had to tell someone. Now. I grabbed the Polaroids and hurried downstairs, my pulse hammering in my ears. My parents were in the kitchen, drinking coffee. The early morning light streamed through the window, making everything look too normal, like last night had been a fever dream. But I knew better. Mom, Dad, I need to show you something. They looked up, startled by my tone. I spread the pictures across the table. Do you remember him? I asked, pointing at Michael. They both leaned in, squinting at the photos, then a flicker of something in their eyes. For the briefest moment, my mother's face changed. Her brows drew together, her mouth parted slightly, like she was on the edge of recognition. And then it was gone. She shook her head, frowning. Who is this? My stomach lurched. Dad picked up one of the photos, flipping it over. Where did you find these? You don't remember? I whispered. They looked at me like I had lost my mind. My mother sighed, rubbing her temples. Honey, I think you're just confused. Maybe these are old photos of a cousin or a neighbor's kid. No, my voice was sharp, desperate. I remember now. We were best friends. I stopped. Something was wrong. The photos, they were fading. The ink blurred before my eyes, the edges curling inward like paper burning in reverse. Michael's face, his entire body, was disappearing from the pictures, leaving only empty spaces where he had been. My hands went numb. I looked up at my parents. They weren't watching the photos anymore. They were watching me. Their faces were blank, their eyes empty, and then they smiled. The whole world shifted. I stumbled back, the kitchen warping around me. The walls stretched too tall, the windows darkened, the ceiling curved inward like a mouth preparing to swallow me whole. I turned and ran, out of the house, into the street. But the street wasn't right anymore. The houses twisted at wrong angles, their doors too small, their windows yawning open like empty eye sockets. The sky overhead wasn't sky, it was a blank, white void. I was being erased. I reached for my phone, hands shaking. The screen flickered, glitching. Every contact had vanished. Every message thread gone, except for one. Michael. I opened it, my heart pounding. One last message. I'm sorry. It's your turn now. My breath hitched. A shadow loomed over me. Slowly, I turned. The figure was standing at the edge of the warped street. Tall. Too tall. Its face was a void, a hole where a person should be. And in that moment, I understood. Michael hadn't just been forgotten. He had been taken. And now it was happening to me. I tried to run, but my legs wouldn't move. I tried to scream, but my voice was already gone. The last thing I saw was the world folding inward, collapsing like paper crumpling in on itself. And then, nothing. The world moved on. My house was empty now. My room left untouched. My parents, if they had ever existed, went about their lives without me. There was no record of me anywhere. No photos. No memories. No name. And somewhere, a phone buzzed. A new message appeared on a stranger's screen. Do you remember me? And just like that, I was gone. What if someone you loved was erased? What if you were next? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think this is just a scary story? Or could something like this really happen? If you enjoyed The Forgotten Friend, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more horror content. And remember, if you ever get a message from someone you don't remember, think twice before answering.